Hi guys and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it so very much. Welcome, my name is Aiden. I'm so happy that you're here. Today I have my eyeshadow roundup for the month of January. I have several palettes and even a couple like duos, smaller things that I have been trying out and testing throughout the course of January. And some of these I did leave at my parents' place in Kansas, so you're going to see a little back and forth going over what all I did in my ranking. I had to rank them at the end of the month, but there are a few that I was like, I don't want to take these on the plane. I already have worn them, so you'll see those in just a second. Some of the palettes that I used this month. First up, we have Auric. This is the Smoke Reflect in Disrupt. Not quite a palette, but it's still an eyeshadow, so we're counting it. Then we have Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Beautyverse Love Palette. Very, very shiny there. We have another new one. This is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. Then we have Trend Beauty Glam Babe. I don't know why that's hard to say. Then we have a Pure. This is the Quick Pro Portables in Night Fantasy. Two more. Before you see what I used in Kansas, we have the Bratz palette from Colourpop, which is called like Girls Night Out, I want to say, something similar to that. And then finally from Smashbox, this is the, I apologize for the noisy vehicles, this is the Cover Shot Ablaze palette. This month I used the Too Faced Country palette, also the Winky Luxe, I don't remember what the rest of this name is, Sugar Kitten palette. Why did they put it on the inside? And then the Urban Decay Born to Run Shortcut palette is the Winky Luxe Sugar Kitten palette. I don't know why they put it in the front. Like, I guess the aesthetic would be a problem, but it's a little annoying trying to remember what the name of it is. So in here we have 9 shades. Ooh, don't want to get them too far. This was an okay palette. I'm going to keep it. I was thinking I was going to declutter it, but then I ended up liking the looks as I went and they lasted fairly well. So I'm going to keep this palette. There are some nice light shades. We have a very light kind of satiny shimmer. We have a light matte. We have a couple shimmers. This one is very chunky, and if you go in too hard, it will just flake everywhere and you will have stuff all over your pants. I don't speak from experience or anything. The purple is pretty sheer. That was the first day that I used the purple, and it was more sheer. Definitely went on better with a finger than with a brush. And then this one was very sheer too. And then you have, you know, a couple of mattes down here and another shimmer. But I felt like I could use this shimmer in the crease because it was a nice kind of mid-tone shade. I want you to look at that pink and see how it's kind of weirdly swatched. That pink right there. It doesn't swatch the best. It was the hardest one to work with in here, even though I really like it because that's probably like my favorite type of a color. And so I like this palette. I don't love it. I think it's okay. I would not recommend it, but I'm not going to get rid of it either. So that Winky Luxe palette was in last place, but in 9th place is going to be my Pure Quick Pro Portables Night Fantasy. This is what it looks like. You have several, you know, it's reminds me of the ABH Modern Renaissance, kind of that similar color story. You have a couple shimmers in there. You have a lot of nice mattes, and this is what it looks like when it's all swatched out. They're very nice and soft. They're just kind of boring. That was a big thing about this one. I said pretty basic, a bit boring, lacks shimmers. The mattes blend well, but I just felt meh about it overall. So I'm actually going to declutter this one because I feel like people could get use out of this one because it's a nice palette. It's just, I have other shadows that are very similar that I'm more likely to reach for, that have like shimmers that are just a little bit more exciting, that have a couple more shimmers. So like you have a very light one in there. I don't dislike this one at all. It's just, it felt so boring and so repetitive in my collection that this was something that I could easily let go of. In 8th place, we have the Auric. This is the Smoke Reflect Disrupt, and this has 2 components to it. Down here, we have a cream shadow, and it did go back into the container, thankfully. If you watched my Beautylish unboxing, it popped out and it was stuck to the lid. So that's the bottom portion. And then in the top, we have this shimmer powder shade. So this is what they look like all together. It did, after my first, like I swatched it when I got this in my lucky bag and I was not impressed with the shadow on top. It did swatch better after I used it. So there's that. So this is the cream by itself. This is the shimmer by itself. And then this is them layered together. So you can kind of see, I'm trying to keep the coloring as close as possible. So that's what they look like. I did kind of blend that one out, the cream, because creams are a little different than other shadows. They take a little bit more work to swatch them. But this one was kind of hard to work with. It also creased in my eye, so that was something. I said it looks pretty, it's a bit difficult to use. It was creased pretty bad by the end of the day. I don't know, I'm trying to remember, I don't think I used a primer because I heard that it works better without a primer, because I watched a couple videos on how to use them and how to work with them, because it's something I'm not used to. So I will try it again. I'm not going to get rid of it, but I would try it with a primer. Definitely for me, it did not work without a primer, but that's what it looks like. It's just okay. The colors are pretty, but it's not really a look that I go for on a regular basis. Like this up in my crease was a lot. It felt like a lot for me. Next up, we have the palette that I'm actually wearing today. This is the Too Faced Country palette. Now, why did I get this palette? And why have I had this for such a long time? This is probably one of my oldest palettes, probably the first high-end palette that I ever got. And I remember getting the Ulta catalog and seeing Marie Osmond in there, and they did the country and rock and roll palettes. And if you know Donnie and Marie, I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. I'm not a country girl. I don't like country music, I'm sorry. I know that can be controversial and people can get upset. It's just not for me. But I love rock and roll. But the colors in the country palette were what called to me. And as you can see, there is a big old dent in that pink. I don't think you could probably see how, like, there's some good dents in a lot of these shades. It has been a well-loved palette. And it's still, like, I still like it. Today I'm wearing this, what's you're looking at as the top row. I have this up under my brow bone. I have this one in the crease. This one's all over the lid. And then I have just a little bit more of this in the inner corner. This is what they look like swatch. I'm going to try to go close. Ooh. I will say the brown was pretty light. I did double swatch that because I'll show you. That one swatched better. It did not swatch very well when I first tried to swatch it, and I was like, oh, we're going to try this again. And the names are just fun. Cowboy Take Me Away, Y'all, Dolly, Famous in a Small Town, Paper Roses, Rhinestone, Bluebird, Nashville, All American Girl. I loved Donnie and Marie. I remember back in the day watching their talk show. Britney Spears' first performance on television as Britney Spears. Oh my gosh, I remember watching that and being like, who is this? So yeah, I love Donnie and Marie. I got the chance to meet them because they came to our local Walmart and did an autograph signing, which was really exciting. I got one of her dolls autographed while I was there. So you knew that I was going to get the country palette since she was working with Too Faced. And I think she still does some stuff with Jared. I'm not really sure, but I feel like I've seen pictures of her talking about it. Anyway. So that's the country palette. It's old, but it's still a goodie. I like the colors. I like that there's some ways that you can mix and match, but it's also just laid out easy. The colors are really me. This blue is probably the least me, and I still feel like, oh, it's fine. It's almost like a neutral. It's not like a bright blue. It's not like a crazy. It's just kind of a smoky-ish blue. So the Too Faced palette ended up being in 7th place, and in 6th place, just edging it out just a little bit, is the Smashbox palette. This is the Cover Shot Ablaze palette. It's just the limited edition packaging they did one year. Do I love this palette? Not especially. It's nice enough. So I said about this one, colors are good mix. Shimmers are more like satins, the nice wash on the mattes. So it worked well. It was not quite as it didn't have as much of a punch as I was expecting with some of those colors in there. You do have kind of a couple quads that are easy to kind of figure out. I use this in every look though because that's just a great brow bone. I liked it. I'm going to keep it. But it is not something that I feel like, oh, I'm really excited about it. I probably should declutter it and see if somebody else would like it because it does work well. It's a nice palette. So let me know. Do you think I should keep it? I have so many palettes, so maybe I shouldn't keep it. But I kind of liked it, especially like this shimmer right here. It's so pretty. That shimmer is nice too. But there's some nice colors. I don't know. I don't feel a connection to it like some of my other palettes, so maybe I should. But I do like it, and it's a nice palette. Let me know. There was some tough decisions trying to figure out the top 5 and where they all fit in. So number 5 is going to be the Colourpop Bratz palette. I think it's called Girls Night Out. They don't actually say that anywhere. I think it might have said it on the outside packaging, which I'm pretty sure I threw away, which is good for me. So I picked this one up because it was just fun and it seemed different and fun to play with. I do like the color story on this. I didn't realize it has 3 shimmers, like not shimmers, but glitters. So this gold, this purple, and this blue. I did wear the gold. It was irritating my eyes. I felt itchy. I didn't have as much problem with I'm pretty sure I tried the purple or the blue, one of them. And then the other one, I was like, I'm not doing it because that gold was irritating. So I put them down here because I was trying to keep them a little segregated so that I didn't contaminate the other swatches or get it on my hand because they do take a while to get off. So as you can see, there's some pretty shades in there. Like this shimmer, oh my gosh, I love the shimmers in here. This one, oh, this one is very pretty there. 3 glitters irritate the eyes. The shimmers are really pretty. The tuxedo, not great. The mattes are nice. So the tuxedo is this shade right here, this brown. It did have a lot of fallout with it, which is something I didn't enjoy. The mattes up here were fine. I didn't use the black either because it's a black. But I did enjoy the pinks, the purples, even the blue, like it was okay for me. It's just those glitters, those chunky glitters, that is why it ended up being put in 5th place instead of higher up, even though I really did like the shimmers. But if you don't like the chunky glitters, like I don't, that was a problem with this palette that I didn't realize when I purchased it. And I probably should have, I mean, I got a really good deal on it. These were like half off with an additional percentage off with pay in 4, so that's why I got it. But yeah, it was very pretty and it was a nice change from the more neutrally or warm tone neutrals that I have been wearing this month. In 4th place is the Charlotte Tilbury. This one is so pretty. I love the little jewels. That's one of the reasons why I ended up picking this one up, because of that. This is the Love palette in the Beautyverse, and there are 9 shades in here. It's very pretty warm toned shades again. There was definitely a theme going on with my purchases, the things that I'm drawn to, but also just kind of my collection. I said the mattes are very creamy. They take some work. The shimmers need building and they fade. That was the big thing. I struggled. I was going to put this one lower, but I ended up putting the Colourpop below this because of those chunky glitters. But as you can see, like the mattes are really pretty. The shimmers, I was not a fan of the shimmers in here. There are 4 shimmers. This one is hardly, like, can you tell that's a shimmer? That's supposed to be a shimmer. It doesn't really feel like a shimmer. These 2 are kind of a little chunky and they faded away throughout the day. But if you wanted the mattes are nice. That was where this palette shined, and I'm glad that I got it on a deal instead of paying for full price for this one. Definitely not worth full price, but I am glad that I have it. And while I wouldn't recommend it unless you like want the packaging, I thought the packaging was so pretty, and it was so much cheaper than those little individual ones that have the similar packaging. That's why I got this one. In third place, we have another surprising one. This is Trend Beauty. This is the Glam Babe palette. I got this in a Ipsy. This was like a full-size palette that came in Ipsy, and I was very surprised by the quality of this one. So this palette does have 15 shades. They are kind of warm toned. There are a couple jewel tones in there as well. But for the most part, it's a lot of shimmers. We have 3 mattes in this palette in total, which is a little crazy. It makes it a little difficult to work with for sure because, you know, you need kind of a balance of mattes and shimmers. You don't want to be overloaded on one or the other usually. At least I don't. So I said the shimmers are really nice. It needs another matte or two. Yep. Mattes are soft and look nice. It was good quality. I of course really like this one. There's a little bit of fallout from a couple of the shimmers, this one, and then what was the other one? I think it was this gold one that had some fallout that I was blowing off, going trying to make sure that they aren't falling all over my pants. So that's what it looks like. There's some pretty colors in there. Is it the most exciting color story? No, but the quality of this one really blew me away because I don't know much about Trend Beauty. I know they have a few things here and there that I've tried, but I've never tried an eyeshadow palette from them before, and this was pretty darn good. Next, we have the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This is the shortcut. In here, we have 8 shadows. They are very pretty. I love the color story of this one, and I actually really liked this palette. So there's a couple good shimmers in there. I love this shimmer right here. This was my favorite. That's that top shimmer right there. This one was pretty nice too. It's down here. Where is it? Down here. Sorry. I liked that one. There's some nice mattes. These 2 mattes here are a little bit scratchy. They're a little more rough, but they worked well. They lasted well. I feel like this was a pretty good palette. I'm definitely going to be keeping it. I liked the looks that came with it. I don't mind that this is kind of a darker, it's not quite a black, but it has a nice shimmer to it. I don't usually do shimmers that are a little darker like that, but pretty good palette. Definitely one that I'm keeping. I was very surprised that I put the Urban Decay palette in second place, but first place should probably be no surprise to anyone. It is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. I took a while to get this one. Last year I was hoping that it would come in my Beautylish Lucky Bag. I didn't get it. I got the Xenon instead, which honestly was a really good palette, even though the color story is not really me. This is much more me in terms of color story. I was hoping to get another one this year. I didn't get one. So there's a few that I want to get still. I want to get the Glam palette, which I know is being discontinued. And I had an opportunity to get it earlier this year. Well, not earlier this year, but over the holidays. And I didn't. So maybe I'll be picking that one up. And I Need a Warm. And of course the Roxa palette. Those are on my list. Like I need any more eyeshadow palettes. But this one I picked up during, Ulta had some sale on, and I got it for a good discount because I think it was on sale, and then I had a coupon. And oh man, it was worth it. This is beautiful. I love the mix of shades in here. We have some nice mediums. We have a couple darker ones. So you have like a dark shimmer you can use as an accent. You have an actual dark. You have some nice mediums. You have some nice lights. You have all these beautiful mid-tone shades in there. And there's mattes, there's shimmers. The one matte, this one, it's looking a little darker on camera, but it's pretty pale in real life, but it still works as a transition shade. I like that there's a nice brow bone shade in here for me. I just love this palette. I wore this the first week of school. Just made me feel a little confident, you know? So I said beautiful exclamation point on my notes. Colors mesh so well, goes on fantastic, looks really pretty on. Love it a lot. This is another one kind of like the Apple palette that I tried last year that I just keep wanting to use, and I'm just forcing myself to try out all of my other palettes. But this one, oh man, it is absolutely beautiful. I really, really liked it, and it is definitely one that I would recommend. If you like this color story, totally recommend it. It is absolutely beautiful. So that is it for all of the palettes that I wore in January. There is quite a variety. A couple that are maybe not the best that I wouldn't recommend, a couple that I definitely would recommend, and then just some one's right in the middle as well. Let me know if you've tried any of these palettes. Let me know if you have any of these palettes. Let me know how you're doing as well. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.